What's up, guys? I've been trying to figure out exactly how I want to go forward talking about ADHD and ADHD awareness, and I just want to create a safe space where I can make videos, talk about it, give tips to people who have ADHD and people who even do not, because most of the organization techniques that I've applied have been very useful to, or would be useful to anybody, because I've decided to live an unmedicated life and I just wanted to manage my symptoms. Because when I got diagnosed around, I think 35, I tried the Adderall for a month and it was good, of course it's good, but it made me into a different person. I didn't want to depend on the medication. Plus it had some weird side effects that I didn't really like that much. Plus the first time I took the Adderall, I got a speeding ticket because the burst of energy was so crazy. I was on the LIE driving to the city, and as soon as it hit me, I sped and got pulled over immediately. That was not cool. Anyway, so briefly summarize, typical ADHD kid, weird grades in school. I would be getting A's in one class and B's and then F's in another class. So most of the time, math, anything math related, can't do it. But if it was like spelling or art or poetry, things creative, you ask my friends growing up, I was like the best speller in the class, and I always get like A's on poetry assignments. And if it was English class, like certain books, like I actually had a thing for Shakespeare. I like Othello a lot. I love that book. That stuff will pique my interest. But math, science, chemistry, I was struggling through school. As I got older, high school was kind of the same thing. Certain classes I would be doing good, and if it was a good teacher, it would help my interest. But otherwise, done. The symptoms were pretty obvious, but nobody really took ADHD serious back then. They just thought it was restless kid syndrome, right? I was always that kid that would just beat themselves, lock themselves in their room. I would be focused on video games or comics or whatever. That's what it is. When you have ADHD, you're super focused on one thing. Everything just falls to the wayside. Nothing will penetrate that hyper focus on the one thing. But to most people, it just looks like you're not listening to them, and that's not the case. Anyway, so and then when I went to college, you force yourself into college when you're fresh out of high school because you don't know what to do. So I took a major that, music business. I was trying to be in the rap business with my friends, and it was fun, but it was just a thing to do. Failed out of college, went back, tried for computer science, and then tried for emergency medical service, like just random stuff. Kept failing out, because kept trying to force it. So that's what it was. So for most of my life, I just thought I was lazy. I thought something was wrong with me. You punish yourself. You go through that ADHD shame. People with ADHD know what I'm talking about. That shame that you're just beating yourself up when you're not, when you can't focus on the things that you're trying to accomplish. So anyway, and that's always been a big deterrent in most things, relationships, the way my relationships have been with friends and people, some jobs in the past. My current job, I've been able to maintain focus on it, but when your attention wanes, if the job didn't grab my attention, it was a wrap. Even in martial arts, it would kind of jump back and forth between different types of classes and different ways of training, but that's also why I love martial arts so much, is because when you're sparring with somebody or you're in a session, you have to stay focused. It grabs your attention. So I'll get more into that stuff later. I'm just talking about my history. So it wasn't until I got finally diagnosed when I was in my 30s. It wasn't 35. No, I got diagnosed in my early 30s. But anyway, it wasn't until I got diagnosed in my 30s that once I got the answer, it just made sense as far as why things happened in the past that I didn't understand, because I would just beat myself up over things that happened. So having an answer leads me to now know how to solve the problem, and then I could kind of break it down in some micro bits and tackle the issues one at a time, right? So tried the medication thing, didn't like it. So I just used behavioral techniques, writing things down, keeping a journal, keeping a planner, being more on top of it, being open about it with people. So I'll get into all that stuff when I get to ADHD advice, but having gotten the diagnoses, I was able to go back to school and actually focus in school and manage my attention. So I was able to get the associates, and now I'm trying to get my bachelor's. and I'm doing this YouTube thing, and having the diagnosis changed my life for the better, because now I know it's that I'm just different. I'm not like damaged per se, and I'm not lazy or unmotivated. So that was my brief introduction into my history with it. I'll talk about symptoms, because what I want to do is also raise awareness for people that don't have it, to understand what it's like for people that do have it. So I want to open that dialogue. So I'm glad I finally did this. First steps out the way. So yes, I'm D-Span. My name is Dennis, and I have ADHD, and I'll be very open about it going forward and talking about it to the masses. We need to open these dialogues and conversations, and to all my people who have any kind of mental disability, anything at all you're dealing with, it helps to just be open about it, honestly. Get in front of it, don't be ashamed of it, and don't be afraid to apologize for the problems that it may cause in relationships, and let people know the struggle that you're dealing with. The more open you are about it, the easier it will be to live with, I promise you. So I look forward to talking about this more in the future. Say anything you need about ADHD, questions, comments below. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all the things. Peace.